And we're rolling. Mic check. Mic is right there. Maybe you've got a desktop computer that doesn't have a webcam. Maybe you've got a laptop or a tablet that doesn't have a very good webcam. Or maybe you just want an extra angle for your YouTube recordings, your web conferences. Well, if you have a smartphone, or two, or some extra Android devices that you aren't using, there's actually some really inexpensive ways to turn these into additional cameras for your productions. In fact, this camera right here is a phone. I will be the first to admit that none of these solutions are ideal. They all have issues. They will be frustrating. But I don't know if you've looked at webcam prices right now. They're pretty ridiculous. So this is actually a relatively easy way of at least getting a webcam. I'm using a program called IV-Cam by E2E Soft. I like IV-Cam because it offers me some manual controls. It also spoofs a webcam. You can take your phone and use it as a webcam in any application that uses a webcam, like Zoom, Google Meets, you name it. It comes right into OBS as a camera source, or a video capture source, and it just works. It does, however, require a server to be running on the PC that it's going to be a webcam for. So I have it set up on my desktop here, and here we can see the very basic manual control that it gives you. It gives you some other settings, what video size you want, frame rate, but here's where the magic happens. Usually, a web camera is just going to have auto exposure, and that is just garish. And it moves around a lot, depending on what your actual lighting is. So I'm going to turn that right off, set my ISO to 100, and then adjust my exposure to taste. And that looks pretty good, right? But I bet you might not have noticed that actually has writing on it. So while I'm recording, I can actually change the exposure. Yes, it's written right there. You'd think I'd know. I can change the exposure on the fly depending on what we're looking at. Oh, wake up. Turn the exposure down even more so the screen isn't too bright. Fire up IP webcam. Start the server. Ooh. But wait. I think you can see the advantages of using a phone connected wirelessly to your system. I might be a teacher and I want to go do a demonstration someplace other than at my computer desk. That kind of thing is a perfect use case for a wireless phone hooked into your recording system. Let's take a look at how that works. I have links for all of this down below, but you will need to download the server for Windows and install that, and either grab it from the Apple App Store or from the Android Play, Google, whatever it's called now, store for your Android device. So once we have all that installed, you can hook it all up. It's pretty easy. First, we start the server, IV-Cam, and once that's started, it will show up over here as in the system tray. You can bring up the preview, and you can see it's waiting for a camera connection. Then we go back to our phone, and we launch IV-Cam. IV-Cam will look for the PC. If you haven't done it before, it'll give you this little play button, and it should just find the PC, and it will then grab it. So then, I see you there. Alright, then we put it up on our little stand. I zoom it in a little, tilt it some. Down here we have our controls. Get rid of that auto exposure. Kind of noisy, yeah? Now this button right here, this is an important one. Ooh, I can almost point it. Yeah, there it is. This button right here is an important one. It turns the screen off on the phone. One of the issues with using your phone as a web camera is that it gets really hot. It chews through the battery and it gets really hot. So I always take the case off. And if I'm going to have it plugged in, I try to make sure it's fully charged before I start up the phone software. That way it doesn't add as much heat as it might if it's trying to charge the battery and run the phone. Boy, that just looks really different. And I couldn't tell you why. It's a lot noisier than it was the first time. Using a different camera? I am using a different camera. So this is one of the things that's sort of strange to me. I'm using the same software, same connection, but it's a different LG V20. This is the one I was originally using. This is a slightly newer one. The image you're seeing right now is from an older one. Manual controls for it here are different. So the same settings are giving me different results. Your mileage may vary. This is different results with two versions of the exact same phone. So you're going to have different results with different phones. That's just the way it is. Down here in the corner, you can see it says V20 connected via wireless. This program does allow you to connect via USB, and it works. But I don't really need another tethered camera, so I chose to use it wirelessly. One of the issues that I did run into with this program is that you can run multiple instances of IV cam and have several phones connected at the same time. They have the information for it right here on their website, and they actually have a link to that in the settings in case you're curious about it. And I did try that. At one point I was having trying to have two cameras set up via USB, and I was thinking USB, they'd be powered, they'd be on the same connections every time, it should be just power it up and go. Nope. The two cameras that I was using, those two V20s, whichever one I plugged in first, it would grab via USB and it would never see the second one until I turned it into a Wi-Fi connection, and then it would see it. That's how you get this working. But we need to see it in Zoom, don't we? One sec. So here in the Zoom settings, you can see that I have it set up as the OBS virtual camera, which is another thing we can talk about. This is pretty frickin' handy. But if I switch this to CamiCam, which is what I've called the IV cam interface, we now have the same camera, which, here we go. Now we have a wireless webcam for Zoom. But what about audio, I hear you saying? You can see here, it gives you a microphone E2E soft. That will also give you audio with your video. So this is a complete solution for webcams using a phone. Let's put this into Zoom proper and see how it actually looks and sounds. I had to switch from the LG V20 to the Note 8 because the audio on the V20 was terrible, like garbled and not really connecting completely. So this is the microphone on the Note 8 going through the IV webcam software. But let's try something else too. When you have a Bluetooth headset, or I'm assuming a wired headset, I haven't tried that, hooked up to the phone, it uses that as a microphone instead. And that makes this an all-in-one, on-the-go solution for the person who wants to have a mobile camera for their web conference. I know you're not going to need to do that often, but I think it's kind of cool that you can. Ooh, this is so much better image quality. But you take what you can get. Let's take a look at IP webcam, just briefly. It's another option for getting a phone into a recording program. It doesn't spoof a webcam, so it can't be quite as easily used in something like Zoom or Google Meet. But let's have a look at it anyway. So if we go into IP webcam here, and we start the server, starts up the camera, and it gives us an IP address right here. That says 1.27. That's what we were looking for. Well, here in OBS, you see I have a browser source. And this is the IP address that we saw earlier. And you have browser FS right here. You don't actually have to have the browser up. Oh, you're done here. This will automatically grab the camera once you turn it on with IP webcam. It's pretty handy, actually. That's been a quick look at a couple of different ways of getting a phone into your computer as a webcam. Neither of these programs are free. I think they're between like $6 and $10. Fortunately, both apps activated on multiple devices with one purchase, so I know we didn't go into too much detail on either program, especially IP webcam. The difficulty with it is that most people are looking for something that can be used as a webcam with Zoom or Google Meet, Skype, Facebook Messenger, that kind of thing. While there are ways to make IP webcam serve that function, there's a whole bunch of other stuff you need to do, like use OBS, which actually works really darn well. It's just a lot of work to set up, and we'll get into that sort of stuff later. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you like it, please give me a like and a subscribe. If you didn't like it, thumbs down, that's fine too. But thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.